Connor Brumfield, U.S. Army veteran, 22 years old. Hunter Whitley, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, 23 years old. Mark Miller, U.S. Navy veteran, 53 years old. Ian Fishback, U.S. Army veteran, and my friend, 42 years old. These are just a few of the names we've lost to suicide and gaps in the way we provide care to our nation's veterans. Since 2001, more than 155,000 veterans have taken their own lives to suicide. This death count is 21 times that of the number of troops we lost in combat during the same period. Today, 70% of veterans under VA care are prescribed psychiatric medications, more than 3.5 times the rate of the civilian counterparts, and the majority of which host Food and Drug Administration box warnings for suicidal thoughts and behaviors or other serious adverse events. Nearly 30% are prescribed antidepressants, 2 times the rate of their civilian counterparts. All of the medications in this drug class carry warnings from the Food and Drug Administration on suicide risk warnings. The VA OIG has published multiple nationwide health system inspections, and in 2 major VA health systems, most veterans' health records show no documentation of informed consent. In Marine Corps veteran Hunter Whitley's case, the prescriber admitted to OIG investigators that she had not discussed the FDA box warning with this young man who was 23 years old, who clearly fit within the suicide box warning at 24 years old. Today's news headline: the veteran suicide epidemic is out of control. The fever line in the graph before you is developed from the VA Suicide Data Report. This line tells a story, and it is one of tragedy. There has been a 108% increase in veteran suicide rates for 18 to 30 or 40-year-old veterans. Despite nearly $200 billion invested, what our nation has been doing is not working. And that is why we're here today. And we stand here in a moment of history, in a time seen by many as one of division. Here today is a moment of bipartisanship, a moment of unity, and a moment dedicated towards ensuring the young troops coming home from war today do not repeat the history of their previous generations. Calling for safer, smarter prescribing practices at the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, calling for the passage and implementation of the Written Informed Consent Act, calling for markup hearings, calling for committee votes, calling for floor votes, and asking Secretary Collins, Secretary Kennedy, and President Trump to ensure our veterans and families know the risks of the medications they're being prescribed and their doctors have real conversations with them. Our message is not one that medications are bad. That is not at all the message here today. The message is that if we're prescribing medications that do have risks, we should be smarter and safer in the way in which we do so. It is my honor to be representing the Grunstyle Foundation, to serve as the MC for our press conference this morning, and to stand in partnership with my veteran service organization allies behind me. Along with us are leaders in Congress who are taking action to address this crisis. Congressman Gus Blirakis from Florida, an author of the Written Consent Act, Congressman Don Davis, Air Force veteran of North Carolina, and Congressman Tom Barrett, my congressman from the 7th Congressional District of Michigan. Though Congressman Bergwood is unable to join us this morning, I want to thank him as well, as he is original co-sponsor of this legislation along with Keith Self in the House. Finally, a huge thank you is due to Senator Sheehy, Senator Tuberville, especially Senator Tuberville, as Hunter Whitley as a constituent of the senator. It is my honor to now introduce to you one of the leading advocates on the issue of overprescribing and medical safety, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, my friend Megan Thomas.
Good morning. They let me get married, so it's Coleman now. My name is Megan Coleman, and I'm Associate Director for Health at the Veterans of Foreign Wars. We often talk about health care in terms of access, getting veterans into appointments and treatment, but access alone is not enough, because access without understanding is not truly care. Many veterans see multiple providers: primary care, mental health, pain management. Each does their part, but too often, no one explains how everything fits together. That's where the gaps begin, and that's an issue the VFW has been working on. Eric's story shows just that. Eric is a VFW member, and after 30 years of service, he trusted the system as he began receiving care from his mental health, rheumatology, oncology, and primary care provider, with each provider prescribing medications. Over time, more prescriptions kept being added, often to treat symptoms, side effects, or new diagnoses, without a clear, coordinated understanding of how they all work together. 10 medications became 20. 20 became 30. He reached a breaking point, not because he rejected care, but because he didn't understand it. He couldn't tell what was happening from his conditions and what was coming from the medications. In those conversations about how these medications interact, what cumulative impact looks like, and what alternatives exist, did not happen clearly in the beginning of treatment, when they would have mattered the most. Later, he learned some medications should not have been taken together. That matters. Not because anyone intended to harm him, but because he never had a clear understanding of his full treatment as a whole. The Written Informed Consent Act addresses this. It ensures veterans have clear, documented conversations about the risks, benefits, and interactions of high-impact medications. It does not restrict care, it strengthens understanding. Because informed consent is not just a signature, it's truly the ability to say, I understand what this means for me. With medication education, management, and communication with his providers, Eric reduced his medications from 30 to 12 and got his quality of life back. This is about improvement. The VFW has been advocating for solutions like this because veterans deserve transparency and clarity in their care. Because trust must be matched with understanding, and no veteran should have to navigate their care in the dark. The VFW thanks Congressman Blirakis for introducing this legislation, congressional leaders that are present today, our VSO partners, and Gruntstyle for organizing.
Next up, I'm proud to introduce Joe Shinelli, the Executive Director of AMVETS and United States Marine Corps veteran.
Thank you, Derek. Good morning. My esteemed colleagues and some very forward-thinking lawmakers will really explain why this legislation is so important, why it must be passed. I'm going to use my minute here to let you know who we are. We're 35 organizations standing together, united to tackle this issue head on and to ensure that this legislation gets the attention and the details are right and it gets passed this year. I'm going to list, say out loud, the 35 organizations, so please bear with me for a moment. Air Force Sergeants Association, the American GI Forum, American Gold Star Mothers, American Legion, AMVETS, Association of the United States Navy, Black Veterans Project, Burn Pits 360, Commissioned Officers Association of the United States, Public Health Service, Disabled American Veterans, Enlisted Association of the National Guard of the United States, Fleet Reserve Association, Gruntstyle Foundation, Healing Household 6, Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, Jewish War Veterans of the USA, Marine Corps League, Military Order of the Purple Heart, Minority Veterans of America, National Association of County Veteran Service Officers, National Defense Committee, Non-Commissioned Officers Association, Operation First Response, Pink Berets, Reserve Organization of America, Save a Warrior, Student Veterans of America, the Retired Enlisted Association, Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, U.S. Army Ranger Association, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Veteran Strategic Solutions, Vietnam Veterans of America, With Honor, and Wounded Paw Project. I also want to thank the bipartisan group of lawmakers who see that this is a deadly issue and needs to be taken care of now. I want to point out in particular Representative Gus Blirakis, Cleo Fields, Jack Bergman, Don Davis, Keith Self, and Tim Barrett, and Senators Tim Sheehy, Tom Tuberville, Steve Daines, Marsha Blackburn, and James Risch. Support for such a large, united group of organizations and bipartisan support from lawmakers really should underscore how important this issue is. A letter will be delivered to lawmakers today, signed by all 35 organizations. We want real action now. We'd love to have a hearing as soon as possible to examine this issue and to see to see for sure that this legislation is the answer. Thank you.
Next up is John Spagnola, and I have to say, John Spagnola has been working on this for years, advocating and fighting for the veterans community, and it's been my honor to become his friend and his ally on this mission. John.
Good morning, and thank you, Derek. It's my pleasure to introduce a true leader in the veteran community. He is a congressman that always puts veteran lives first and works tirelessly for our veterans and their rights. He was and held the position of vice chair of the full VA committee for a good number of years. He's particularly focused on veteran suicides and ensuring that veterans know the side effects of the high-risk medications that they're taking, and that veterans are aware that they do have treatment options outside of new medications. He shared with me a while back that he was in touch with a veteran that was on 32 medications at once. This cannot be and cannot continue. And that's why we're here today, because written informed consent will make the difference. This is also why he is the House sponsor of the Written Informed Consent Act. It is my honor and to introduce you to my friend, Congressman Gus Blirakis.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I want to thank all the veterans and active military personnel for being here today. Thank you for your service, and also those who have passed. May their memory be eternal. I'm proud to stand alongside my colleagues as well as our partners in the veteran community in support of the Written Informed Consent Act. This legislation is about something very simple but incredibly important: respecting our veterans with full transparency when it comes to their medical care. They deserve it, folks. Every day, veterans trust the Department of Veterans Affairs with their health and well-being. And when a provider prescribes powerful medications such as antipsychotics, stimulants, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, or narcotics, that trust must be backed by clear, understandable information about the potential risks, drug interactions, or side effects. That's all we're asking. In writing, of course, informed consent. Right now, in many cases, that information is provided verbally and may not fully communicate the potential side effects or long-term impacts. That is not good enough for the men and women who have worn our nation's uniform. The Written Informed Consent Act would change that by requiring standardized written consent form for these medications, clearly outlining potential adverse effects before they are prescribed. That's the least we could do. This ensures that veterans are not just told, but are fully informed in writing, folks, so they can make educated decisions about their care. It's as simple as that. This is not about restricting access to treatment. It is about strengthening informed choice, improving communications, and again, building trust within the VA system. When veterans have clear information in front of them, they are better equipped to engage in their care and advocate for their own health. We have seen growing concern about adverse drug reactions, and John told you about the individual that was taking 32 meds, and the alternative therapies work as well, but sometimes they have to be complementary therapies because you do need medication in some cases, no question. So I'll repeat, we have seen growing concern about adverse drug reactions and the complexity of treatment plans for veterans dealing with chronic conditions. In that environment, transparency is not optional, it is essential. That belief is why I led the Promise Act in the 114th Congress, which enhanced opioid safety and transparency initiatives at the VA. The bill was signed into law in 2016. The Written Informed Consent Act has similarly earned strong support from veterans advocacy organizations, as you can see, because it reflects what they have been asking for. Again, accountability, clarity, and respect in medical decision making. I want to thank my co-sponsors who are here and others that have signed on to the bill, both in the House and the Senate. Let's get this done, folks. As I have said before, I will continue to say, our veterans deserve nothing less than complete transparency when it comes to their health care. The Written Informed Consent Act delivers on that principle in a straightforward and common sense way. I want to thank my colleagues again for their partnership and on this important effort. And I want to thank the veterans again and all the advocates, the veterans advocates who continue to push us to do better. Thank you very much.
Next up, it's my honor to introduce Congressman Tom Barrett. He is my congressman in the 7th Congressional District of Michigan. He's also an Army helicopter pilot, former retired, I believe. I think he's got a new job now. And also an Iraq veteran. So I want to introduce Congressman Barrett. Thank you very much for your leadership. And when I called and asked for help, it wasn't even a blink. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to speak today and lend my support to this really important legislation. Gus, thank you for bringing it forward. This is long overdue, and we've all seen this from generations of veterans that have served across the spectrum of different conflicts or even during peacetime that have challenges after they return back home. And we've seen the devastating effects of a far too high and chronically out of reach veteran suicide epidemic that we face. And this is something we've tried to confront and address through advocacy, awareness, all these other ways that we have tried to confront this scourge that we have faced in our country. And those efforts, frankly, have fallen short. And we have to think about all of the complicated and different factors and cofactors that go into that, not the least of which is medication that might conflict with one another. When you have someone, as the example we heard about, with 30 or more different medications that are prescribed, what are the cofactors involved in that? If a veteran isn't aware of all of these risk factors, they have to be able to know exactly what is likely to occur when they take these things. These medications should be prescribed, and I think are intended to be prescribed to help veterans. But if the opposite is happening, we have to revisit what we are doing. We can't continue to do the exact same thing and expect different results and just run more TV commercials about veteran suicide awareness. People are aware of this problem. It's not that we are unaware of it. It's that we need to confront the underlying risk factors that exist. So this legislation today is critically important to take a first step in that effort. I really appreciate, Gus, your efforts to bring this forward. I'm privileged to serve on the VA committee here in the House of Representatives, something that I'm deeply proud of being able to do. And I look forward to lending my voice to advocacy to get this legislation done. I was proud to co-sponsor this legislation because I truly believe that we owe it to every veteran, regardless of when or how they served, to do the right thing for them. You see dozens of veteran groups, advocates behind me, but standing behind them are dozens of veteran organizations that have lent their name to this effort, each representing thousands or more of veterans in their own respective organizations to show you just how important this issue is. We owe it to them to get this done. I'm proud to be here today, and I look forward to getting this across the finish line. So thank you for having me.
Next up, Brian O'Callahan, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, a friend, and he's an ally that's been fighting on this issue for years. I'm going to have him come up and share a few remarks and make an introduction.
Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. It's my honor to introduce Congressman Don Davis this morning. I'd like to take a quick moment to note about all of our sponsors. None of this legislation is going to get them headlines. It is not going to generate fundraising in a very busy year. It is going to save lives. It is going to keep families whole. It is going to keep veterans out of the justice system. It is the very type of serious legislation and serious policy making that our veterans deserve. So we're very lucky to have all of our sponsors, and that's why it is my pleasure to introduce United States Air Force veteran, a 1994 graduate of the United States Air Force Academy, a lifelong public servant, and a man who champions and fights for our veterans, Congressman Don Davis of North Carolina. Congressman, thank you, sir.
Wow, what a generous introduction there. But I think the real story's right here. Thank you very much, truly. I want to thank all these veterans who are not only trying to advance this policy, perhaps for themselves, but more importantly, to be strong advocates for so many other veterans that are out there. So thank you for your service. Good morning again. Thank you to my colleagues, and Gus, we really appreciate you. Thanks for your brilliant work in moving this forward. It means a whole lot, and also glad to work with Tom Barrett as well. To all of the veterans, the leaders who are advocating, I'm glad to join you here today. I'm proud as an Air Force veteran to stand in full support of H.R. 4837, the Written Informed Consent Act. It is at core, this bill is about something that is simple but essential. It's about ensuring veterans and their families are able to make informed decisions about their health care. It's that simple. Making an informed decision. Making sure our veterans have clear, written information about the medications they're prescribed through the VA. There are potent medications out there. We know this. And we also understand some of those medications have real side effects. And our veterans deserve full understanding of what they're taking and what those side effects might be. I'm grateful for the more than 35 veteran and military organizations that's come together in support of this effort. It speaks volumes. And let's be clear, a unified voice sends a clear message. And I believe we're standing united today to send a clear message through the halls of Congress. The least we can do is ensure that when veterans come home, their care is grounded in transparency, respect, and accountability. And I would go actually one step further. My son, Justin, is at Fort Benning right now. I was Air Force. He called me up and said, "Dad, I'm going into the Army." I said, "Son, what do you want to do? What's the plan?" He said, "Infantry all the way, 11 Bravo." But here's the deal, everybody. The reason we're standing here, it sends a loud message to everybody as to why they should serve, is because they know that we're going to take care of them. So I urge House leadership to take up H.R. 4837, and let's move this bill forward, not only for our veterans, their families, but also those who are even looking to serve, so they know that as a country that we care about those who are making so many sacrifices. So God bless each and every one of you that's here today, and to be a part of this, it's an honor, and may God bless America.
Congressman Davis is a fellow Air Force veteran. Thank you very much for your service and your leadership, and for supporting this legislation. It's an absolute honor to have you here. Next up, Candace Wheeler of the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. She is the head of government relations. I'm going to turn over to Candace, but TAPS is an incredible organization that helps surviving families. And when I reached out to Bonnie Carroll, their president, and Candace years ago, there was no hesitation. They're like, yes, we need to support this, and they've been full-throated in every step of the way. So, Candace, please. Thank you.
As the national provider of comfort, care, and resources to all those grieving the death of a military or veteran loved one, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors strongly supports the Written Informed Consent Act and thanks Congressmen Blirakis, Barrett, Davis, Bergman, and Self, and Senators Sheehy and Tuberville for leading this critical legislation. Last year, nearly 10,000 newly bereaved military and veteran survivors connected with TAPS, an average of 26 new survivors coming to TAPS each and every day. Of the survivors seeking our care in 2025, 33% were grieving the death of a military loved one to illness, and 29% were suicide loss survivors. Ensuring veterans and their families are aware of the potential side effects of high-risk medications will empower veterans to make informed decisions, reduce suicide, and help save precious lives. We urge Congress to pass this overdue legislation today. Thank you.
Scott Cooper, Senior Vice President of Government Affairs with Honor, an organization that labels itself as cross-partisan, focused on supporting bipartisan veteran leadership in Congress. Scott. And I failed former United States Marine Corps veteran.
All good, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Scott Cooper. I lead government relations at With Honor. Two of our caucus members, Don Davis and Tim Barrett, were just on the stage here. I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps. Had the opportunity to go to Iraq 5 times and Afghanistan 2. This is an important piece of legislation. About a year ago, one of those Marines that served under me, that I promoted 4 times, eventually to gunnery sergeant, called, and he was in a crisis up in Denver, Michigan. And Gunny Rumfeld was in a bad place, partly because the medicine that he had been prescribed for back pain and for knee pain was a bad cocktail. And he got the care that he needed in the end. But I think this legislation is going to better prepare the Veteran Administration to help people like Gunny Rumfeld. And so I still check in on him. I'm glad he called me that day when he was in a dark place. I don't know if the medicine was the one that was causing that, but I know that this legislation is going to do better for folks like Gunny Rumfeld. And so we're very proud to be part of this effort here. And thanks for your leadership, Derek, on this. Thanks.
Now we have Ken Greenberg, National Executive Director of Jewish War Veterans of the United States of America and Vietnam veteran, my friend.
Thank you all for joining us here. It's my honor to represent the Jewish war veterans of the USA. The Written Informed Consent Act is about education. Educating veterans, educating their families, educating their advocates for their health care so that they have the knowledge and information about the medication and the health care they are receiving. It will work to help prevent suicide. It will work to help prevent medical interactions that will cause issues, and it's very important that this law be passed. While the Senate has already had a hearing, we call on the House to have a hearing, and we urge both committees to have markups so the bills can come to the floor and they can be passed today or this year. It's very important that we also recognize the Senators Sheehy and Tuberville in the Senate for their leadership, as well as the leaders that you've already heard from, Congressman Blirakis, Barrett, Davis, Self, and Bergman. So thank you very much. And again, this legislation is very important in educating every veteran to get what they deserve and what they've earned. Thank you, Derek.
I'm now going to ask that Major General Jeff Phillips come to the stage. Major General Phillips is with the National Defense Committee and is an advocate for our veterans community and a loud voice in Congress for all of us.
Thank you all for being here today. And we thank our members of Congress who are on board with this. If frankly, if the administration had done this on its own, wouldn't be in this position. I can't take out a mortgage without about a sheaf of paper this thick requiring my signature every third page so that I have written, informed consent. And yet, picture yourself as a veteran sitting across from a VA doctor who has just informed you you have stage 3 cancer and has told you as you sit there shocked, bowled back by this new reality that you didn't expect, that you're going to be taking a lot of medications, some of them called psychotropic, black box. You have no idea what these are. And the amounts of these drugs add up. You're sitting back staggered. You go home. You sign no paper. You've got no manual of instructions. You talk to your spouse, say, you know, we've got an appointment next week at the VA. And then about a month or two later, you're not feeling really good. You're confused. You're depressed. You have no idea what's going on. You have no instruction manual telling what's going on with these drugs, which were prescribed in good faith. And maybe down the line, you make a very tragic decision about your own life that becomes a tragedy to those who love you. Written, informed consent is a pivotal decision that our government must take, and if it takes the passage of this act, this bill, then that's a great step forward. Thank you for being here, and please do support the passage of this bill and its enactment into law. Thank you.
And representing Vietnam Veterans of America is Jimmy McCormick, U.S. Marine Corps veteran.
Or Army.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
You wanted to be a Marine.
No. Everyone, I am Jimmy McCormick. I'm a 27-year-old Army veteran from West Virginia. I'm here on behalf of Vietnam Veterans of America. Though an organization founded by Vietnam veterans, they are one that proudly represents veterans of all eras, including mine. In the military, we're trained to understand risk. When given orders, we expect clarity of mission. We perform our tasks with accountability, and we make informed decisions. Yet when it comes to powerful medications prescribed to veterans, that same standard doesn't always apply. Today, written informed consent is not consistently required. Veterans may be given medications without fully understanding the potential side effects including serious risks like developing suicidal thoughts, which is increasingly being linked to certain treatments. Veterans have earned the right to make fully informed decisions about their own bodies and minds. This is not about denying treatment. It's about ensuring trust, transparency, and safety. Written informed consent protects patients, strengthens provider accountability, and ultimately leads to better outcomes. As a veteran, I was trusted with potential life and death decisions in uniform. I'm simply asking that same level of respect be extended when it comes to mine and our health care. Require written informed consent. Let veterans know the risks. Let them decide. Thank you.
Finally, we're going to have Leroy Torres. Him and his wife, Rosie Torres, founded an organization called Burn Pits 360. And for many in this group, they know full and well who that organization is, as they fought to help pass the PACT Act because of the experiences that Leroy had. I'm going to turn over to Leroy, but I just want to say it's an honor to be standing next to him for his work that he has done fighting for so many others while he himself has been sick, as I understand this well. So, Leroy, please.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here today. In the spring of 2016, at the lowest point in my life, I put a shotgun to my face. My service dog, Hope, physically intervened and saved my life that dreadful night. Beyond the physical injury to my lungs from toxic exposure, I was carrying a moral injury from the loss of my Texas State Trooper job and Army careers. At the time, I was also suffering from crushing headaches. The VA prescribed medications that altered my state of mind. Medications I later learned were given without knowing I was living with a undiagnosed toxic brain injury. It was only after private insurance covered a Q-spec scan of my brain that I finally received a proper diagnosis. Hope is gone now, but by God's grace and his story is the reason I am standing here today. The Written Informed Consent Act would require that before such high-risk medications are prescribed, every veteran receives written information about the risks associated with such medications. Hope saved my life through loyalty and instinct. Well, this bill can save thousands more through transparency and respect for the veterans' right to know. I'm calling on Congress to support the Written Informed Consent Act. And I want to thank Representatives Blirakis, Barrett, and Davis for their leadership, and other members of Congress for the support of this critical legislation. And I want to thank all of you for being here today and supporting this effort alongside fellow VSOs and brothers and sisters who have endured the pain and who have suffered in silence. God bless you, and God strengthen every veteran who is still struggling to receive proper health care. Thank you.
We want to thank everybody for joining. Before we close out, we want to note in the past few weeks, there's been a couple of executive orders by the President of the United States, President Trump, working with Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., calling for opening of the door for psychedelics, alternative treatments, research on these treatments, because a lot of veterans have found a lot of benefit where they had not found any elsewhere. And we want to first applaud them and their leadership for taking initiative and action on an issue that many never thought would happen. And I think we're here today also applauding them and looking forward to hopefully some future actions, partnership between the President of the United States, HHS Secretary Kennedy, and VA Secretary Collins. We just want to say thank you all for being here, for all the veterans groups who become together in alliance to fight for this issue. We look forward to the passage of this bill. We look forward to the day where we have safer prescribing practices and smarter prescribing practices, VA and nationwide for all Americans. And for those who are able and would like to join, we have our letter from 35 national veterans groups here, and we're going to be taking this letter and hand delivering this letter to the leadership in Congress and encourage them and thanking them and asking them to put this bill forward through hearings, through committees, and ultimately sign it into law. So I want to say thank you to everyone here. It's an absolute privilege to be standing here representing the Grunt-Style Foundation and alongside the entire veterans community, it seems. So, and our partnership with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, who you can see in strong force, along with all of our allies. So thank you again for being here. If you have any questions, we'll kind of open it up for the questions, and otherwise we'll wrap it up. Great questions. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Yep. Hey, if everybody wants to shift this way just a little bit, we'll get one more picture all together in a group. Here. Just shift this way just a couple feet.